You ever notice how one sentence, one tone, one glance can hijack your peace in seconds? It's like someone flips a switch and suddenly you're defending yourself, proving your worth, matching their energy. That's the trap. Because the moment you react, you give your power away. What if I told you that emotional control isn't about pretending not to feel, it's about mastering what you do after you feel it? See, your brain is wired to protect you, not to evolve you. That's why it reacts. But growth, real growth, begins when you train it to pause, to breathe, and to see before it speaks. That pause. That sacred, silent space is where wisdom whispers. It's where God shows you that not everything deserves your energy and not every storm deserves your presence. Because sometimes silence is the loudest statement of strength you can make. You've got to train your brain to stop interpreting everything as a threat. Not every disagreement means disrespect. Not every delay means denial. Not every cold tone means they don't value you. Sometimes it just means they're human. And your peace is not up for negotiation every time someone forgets theirs. This is what maturity looks like. It's learning to stay rooted when everything around you tries to pull you out of yourself. It's learning to observe your emotion without becoming your emotion. To feel anger, but not act angry. To sense fear, but not live afraid. To notice pain, but not let it become your identity. Because when you react, you're living from the outside in. But when you respond, calmly, intentionally, consciously, you're living from the inside out. And that's where peace lives. Let me tell you something. Peace isn't passive. Peace is power that's been refined. It's the discipline to say, I see what's happening, but I'm not handing over my stability for it. That's not arrogance. That's authority. You want to know what emotional strength looks like. It's smiling at what used to make you spiral. It's walking away without the urge to explain. It's hearing criticism without internal collapse. It's realizing that your peace is not found in control. It's found in surrender. And that's the paradox. You stop reacting not because you don't care, but because you finally do. You care enough about your destiny, your clarity, your spiritual alignment to protect it from temporary noise. So train your brain like a muscle. The next time you're triggered, pause. The next time someone disrespects you, breathe. The next time life throws chaos your way, stay still. Because the more you practice restraint, the more you rewire your mind for peace. This is how you win the invisible battles, not by shouting louder, not by proving your point, but by mastering the energy inside you before it spills out of you. You don't owe every situation a reaction. You owe yourself peace. And peace comes when you realize control isn't about changing them. It's about training you. Would you like me to extend this into a full 25-minute spoken style script, complete with emotional pacing, pauses, and power lines, the kind used in high-impact stage or video delivery? Reaction is a reflex. Response is a choice. Maturity begins when you pause long enough to tell the difference. Every human being has a built-in defense system, the brain's automatic wiring to protect, defend, and survive. That's why when something feels threatening, you react. It's not evil, it's instinct. Someone criticizes you, and before you even process it, your voice raises. Your chest tightens, your words sharpen. It's your body saying, I need to protect myself. But here's the truth. What once protected you can start to imprison you if you never learn to pause. Reaction is fast, emotional, and impulsive. It's born out of fear, insecurity, or ego. It doesn't think, it defends. But response, that's different. Response is thoughtful. It's intentional. It's built on awareness, not adrenaline. The difference between a reactor and a responder isn't how they feel, but how they handle what they feel. One gives their power away to emotion. The other channels that emotion into clarity. When you start to train your mind to notice the space between what happens and what you do about it, everything changes. That tiny pause, that breath before the word, that moment before the text, that silence before the decision. That's where wisdom lies. Because in that space, you get to choose. You get to ask, is this worth my peace? Is this mine to fix? Is this even about me? Reacting is the language of your past. It's shaped by your wounds, your fears, your old stories that whisper, you're not safe, you're not enough. Responding is the language of your higher self, calm, secure, grounded in truth. When you respond, you're not trying to win an argument, you're preserving alignment. You're not trying to prove your value, you're remembering it. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's practice. It's awareness. It's catching yourself mid-reaction and saying, wait, I don't have to go there. It's reminding yourself that silence doesn't mean defeat. It means control. Every time you pause instead of react, you rewrite your brain's programming. You strengthen the muscle of restraint. You build emotional intelligence that no one can take from you. That's what maturity is, not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it, the ability to feel deeply and still choose wisely. Because reaction is what happens to you. Response is what happens through you. And that difference defines your peace, your growth, and your power. Your emotions are loyal servants, but dangerous masters. You lead them, they don't lead you. Emotions are powerful messengers. They're designed to tell you what's happening inside you, not to dictate what you do next. Anger says, something feels unfair. Sadness says, something I value feels lost. Fear says, something I care about might be in danger. They're signals, not steering wheels. But when you stop listening and start obeying them, they stop serving you and start ruling you. When emotions become the master, they control your tone, your choices, your relationships, and even your destiny. You say things you don't mean, make decisions you regret, and create pain you later have to clean up. That's because emotions are temporary, but the damage from reacting to them often lasts much longer. Power doesn't come from feeling nothing. It comes from knowing when to feel everything and still move with wisdom. The truth is, you were never meant to suppress emotion. Suppression is just another way of giving it power in the shadows. What you suppress controls you from the dark. But when you acknowledge emotion, when you name it, breathe through it, and choose what to do with it, you bring it into the light. And light breaks control. That's emotional leadership. Think of your emotions like fire. Fire can cook your meal or burn your house down, depending on who's in control. When anger serves you, it gives you courage to set boundaries. When it rules you, it destroys everything in its path. When sadness serves you, it teaches empathy and depth. When it rules you, it drags you into despair. Every emotion has a divine purpose, but only when it's guided by awareness. Learning to lead your emotions is spiritual discipline. It's waking up and saying, "You're welcome here," but you don't get the final say. It's reminding yourself that feelings are real, but not always right. It's pausing long enough to ask, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Rather than, who can I blame for it? A mastery isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. You let emotion inform you, not control you. You feel deeply, but you act deliberately. Because when emotions serve you, they become wisdom. When they rule you, they become chaos. And the choice between wisdom and chaos will always belong to the one who leads within. Stillness is not weakness, it's strength under control. True power is silent, steady, and sure. In a world that glorifies noise, reaction, and speed, stillness feels unnatural. We've been conditioned to believe that the louder you are, the stronger you seem. But strength isn't proven by volume, it's proven by restraint. Stillness is not about doing nothing, it's about knowing when nothing needs to be done. It's the discipline to pause when your ego wants to perform, to wait when your emotions demand action, to trust when everything in you wants to panic. Stillness is the power that doesn't shout. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows who they are, who doesn't need to prove their worth in every argument or defend their value in every misunderstanding. Because when you know your strength, you don't need to advertise it. You don't need to convince people of your truth. Truth defends itself in time. The strongest person in the room is not the one who reacts first. It's the one who can stay calm in the storm and still see clearly through it. Stillness is what keeps your spirit steady when life shakes everything around you. It's the pause that allows you to hear what God is actually saying instead of what fear is screaming. When you're still, you create space between emotion and wisdom, and that space is where discernment lives. That's where divine direction whispers, "Wait, don't move yet. I'm working in ways you can't see." Weakness rushes, strength waits. Weakness reacts, strength observes. Weakness needs to be seen. Strength is content to be hidden until the right time. Stillness isn't the absence of motion. It's motion guided by peace. It's when your soul refuses to be dragged by chaos and chooses to move only when clarity arrives. The most dangerous kind of power is the one that doesn't look like power. It's the person who could fight but chooses peace, who could speak but chooses silence, who could act out of anger but chooses grace. That's not passivity. That's mastery. Because stillness doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've already decided what matters most, your peace, your purpose, your alignment. And that's where true strength lives, in the quiet heart that knows when to move and when to remain still. Every reaction reveals the level of your internal peace. When peace deepens, reaction dies. You can always tell how centered someone is by how easily they're disturbed. Life will test your peace through people, pressure, and pain. It's never about what happens to you. It's about what rises from within you when it happens. When your peace is shallow, everything becomes a trigger. Every tone feels like an attack, every delay feels like rejection, and every inconvenience feels personal. But when peace runs deep, the same storm that once shook you barely moves you anymore. You don't stop caring, you just stop being controlled. Peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of clarity. It's knowing that not every battle is worth your energy and not every situation deserves your reaction. When you've cultivated true peace, you stop chasing to be understood and start resting and understanding yourself. You no longer feel the need to explain, defend, or correct every misunderstanding. That's not indifference, that's strength, because you realize that no one's chaos is worth losing your calm. Every time you react, you're revealing the part of you that still needs healing. The person who provokes you is often the person exposing your unhealed places. So instead of asking, why did they say that? Ask, why did that bother me so much? That's how you turn conflict into a mirror and reaction into revelation. Peace doesn't mean nothing can touch you. It means nothing can control you anymore. To protect your peace, you must learn the art of detachment, not from people, but from outcomes. You stop needing everything to go your way to feel okay. You stop letting temporary moments dictate your permanent mood. You stop giving your power to situations that don't deserve it. When peace becomes your priority, reaction becomes unnecessary. The deeper your peace, the quieter your spirit. The quieter your spirit, the clearer your perception. And the clearer your perception, the less chaos can reach you. That's how you know you're growing, when things that used to pull you into reaction now invite you into reflection. Because peace doesn't make life easier, it makes you stronger. And when peace lives deep enough, reaction has nowhere left to live. Detachment is not indifference, it's divine perspective. You rise above the chaos instead of drowning in it. People often mistake detachment for not caring, but that's not what it is. Detachment doesn't mean your heart is cold. It means your heart is clear. It's the ability to stay present in the moment without being consumed by it. It's loving deeply without losing yourself, caring genuinely without clinging, showing up fully without letting outcomes define your peace. Detachment is what happens when you finally realize you can't control everything and you stop trying to. True detachment is a sign of trust, trust in God, in timing, in your own growth. It's knowing that you don't have to hold everything together, you just have to hold your center. When you're detached, you stop chasing validation, because you understand that people's approval is unstable, but your purpose is not. You stop begging for closure because you realize peace isn't given, it's chosen. You stop reacting to every shift because you've learned that not everything that moves requires your movement. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling, it means you start seeing. You start seeing from a higher place, from the eyes of wisdom, rather than the wounds of emotion. You recognize that everyone is on their own journey, fighting battles you can't see, and not everything they do is about you. You stop trying to fix people who don't want to be healed, and you release situations that no longer serve your growth. That's not selfish. That's sacred stewardship of your peace. When you're detached, you live lighter. You love without fear, listen without judgment, and move without resistance. The world doesn't get to dictate your state anymore. You can stand in the middle of chaos and still feel calm because you've learned that peace doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. This is the power of divine detachment, being in the world but not of its turbulence. It's rising above without disconnecting, observing without absorbing. It's choosing to dwell in alignment, not reaction. Because the moment you stop drowning in what you can't control, you start floating in what you can, your peace, your presence, your perspective. And that's where true freedom begins. You don't heal by controlling others. You heal by mastering yourself. So many people spend their energy trying to fix what's outside of them, changing people, managing outcomes, forcing peace where chaos lives. But healing doesn't begin in your environment, it begins in your awareness. The moment you stop trying to control others and start examining your own reactions, your own patterns, your own beliefs, that's when transformation begins. Because you cannot control someone else's behavior, but you can control what that behavior awakens in you. Healing is not about rearranging the external world so it no longer hurts. It's about strengthening your inner world so it no longer breaks you. The desire to control is often a disguise for fear, fear of being hurt again, fear of being unseen, fear of uncertainty. But control doesn't create safety, it creates exhaustion. You end up living in a constant state of tension, trying to manage people's emotions and predict outcomes that aren't yours to carry. Freedom begins when you surrender the illusion of control and take responsibility for your own energy. Mastering yourself means becoming aware of what triggers you and choosing not to be ruled by it. It's learning to pause when you want to react, to listen when you want to argue, to walk away when your peace is on the line. Self-mastery isn't about perfection, it's about progress, catching yourself one breath sooner each time you're pulled toward chaos. It's realizing that the only person you truly need to manage is you. When you master yourself, you stop trying to control people's perception of you because you know who you are. You stop forcing love because you understand that what's meant for you flows without manipulation. You stop chasing closure because you've made peace with the unanswered. That's what emotional healing looks like. Not control, but clarity, not dominance, but discipline. The truth is, peace is never achieved through power over others. It's found in power over self. You heal when you stop projecting pain outward and start transforming it inward. You heal when you stop trying to make people change and start embodying the change yourself. Because real mastery isn't about controlling the storm. It's about becoming the calm within it. When you stop reacting, you start perceiving. Vision clears when emotion settles. Most people don't see life as it is. They see it through the fog of emotion. Anger, fear, pride, and insecurity distort perception. They color every conversation, every decision, every moment. When you react, you're not responding to truth. You're responding to the story your emotions are telling you about truth. That's why clarity often comes after the argument, after the storm, after the silence, because only then does emotion settle enough for wisdom to speak. Reaction is impulsive. It blinds you to what's actually happening. It convinces you that everything urgent deserves your energy. But perception, real perception, only comes when you slow down enough to observe before judging, to understand before responding. When you stop reacting, you stop filtering reality through the lens of past pain. You start seeing people as they are, not as your wounds remember them. You begin to recognize patterns in yourself, not just problems in others. Stillness creates vision. When you quiet your mind, truth begins to surface. You start to notice deeds you missed, motives you overlooked, lessons you ignored. You start to see that not every conflict is personal, not every delay is punishment, and not every rejection is a loss. When you stop reacting, you give space for divine perspective to enter, and that perspective shows you what emotion hides: purpose, timing, and meaning. It's easy to see when your heart is calm. But when emotion rules, even truth can feel like an attack. That's why emotional discipline is the foundation of wisdom. It's the ability to let a situation unfold before you decide what it means. It's the patience to say, let me see this clearly, instead of let me fix this quickly. Because sometimes what you need isn't action, it's awareness. When you master your emotions, perception becomes sharper. You hear what isn't said, you feel what's truly meant, you discern the lesson beneath the pain. You start living with insight instead of impulse. The world slows down, and what once overwhelmed you begins to make sense. Because when emotion settles, truth emerges. And when truth emerges, reaction becomes unnecessary. That's when you stop merely seeing and start truly perceiving. Spiritual growth is measured by how quickly you return to peace. It's not about never being shaken. It's about how long you stay shaken before you realign. Growth doesn't mean you stop feeling pain, anger, or disappointment. It means you no longer live there. You feel it, you face it, but you don't feed it. The faster you find your way back to peace, the stronger your spirit has become. Because peace is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of awareness. It's the knowing that no matter what happens around you, you are anchored in something deeper, something eternal. When you're spiritually immature, every disruption throws you off course. A harsh word ruins your day. A delay feels like a denial. You carry offense like armor, convinced it protects you, when really it's just heavy. But as you grow, you begin to recognize that peace is your responsibility, not anyone else's gift to you. You stop waiting for people to apologize before you forgive. You stop expecting circumstances to calm before you breathe again. You learn to create peace, not wait for it. Returning to peace is a skill, one built through awareness, surrender, and discipline. It's catching yourself when your thoughts spiral, when your tone sharpens, when your energy shifts, and saying, I don't have to stay here. It's reminding yourself that turmoil outside of you doesn't have to become turmoil inside you. Spiritual maturity is measured by how fast you remember who you are when life tries to make you forget. Peace doesn't mean the storm stops. It means you've learned how to stand still in it. It's the ability to find calm while the wind still blows, because you've discovered that stability isn't found in control, it's found in trust. Trust in God's timing. Trust in your journey. Trust that everything meant to harm you can still teach you. When your peace becomes unshakable, life loses its power to manipulate your emotions. The sign of deep spiritual growth isn't how loudly you pray, how perfectly you speak, or how calm you look. It's how quickly you can realign your heart after it's been disturbed. You stumble, but you don't stay down. You get angry, but you return to love. You break, but you remember your center. That return, that sacred return, is the evidence of growth. The pause between trigger and reaction is sacred. That's where transformation begins. Every moment of conflict, frustration, or pain offers you a hidden doorway, a split second before your instinct takes over, before the words leave your mouth, before emotion writes your response. That moment is small, but it's holy. It's the space where choice lives, the space where you decide whether you'll repeat the past or rewrite it, whether you'll react from habit or respond from healing. That pause is where your power returns to you. Most people never find that space because they move too quickly. They let the trigger pull them like a string, and before they realize it, they've already reacted. They've said something they didn't mean, done something they regret, or allowed someone else's chaos to dictate their character. But when you learn to pause, to breathe, to observe, to stay still, you interrupt the pattern. You tell your brain, we're not operating on survival mode anymore. You remind yourself that control isn't found in reacting, it's found in waiting. That pause might be one deep breath, one silent moment, one whispered prayer. It doesn't have to be long, it just has to be conscious. Because in that stillness, wisdom enters. You start to see what's actually happening beneath the surface. You notice the emotion behind the trigger, the wound behind the reaction, the truth behind the tension. And from that awareness, you can respond with clarity instead of confusion. The pause doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful. It's the difference between being controlled by the moment and commanding the moment. It's what separates those who live by impulse from those who live by intention. Every time you pause before reacting, you rewire your brain. You teach your nervous system that calm is possible, that peace is accessible, even when provoked. Transformation doesn't happen in the chaos, it happens in the pause after it. That's where you choose who you're becoming. Every time you find that space and choose silence over shouting, patience over panic, grace over aggression, you evolve. You grow quieter, wiser, steadier. The pause becomes your power, the sacred bridge between the old you that reacted and the new you that responds with purpose. You cannot control what others do, but you can train your mind to stay grounded in what's true. The greatest source of exhaustion comes from trying to manage what's beyond your reach. People's actions, their opinions, their emotions, their choices. You spend so much energy trying to make others see you, respect you, understand you. And in doing so, you forget the only thing that's truly yours to master your own mind. Freedom begins when you accept that you can't control others, and peace begins when you learn to control yourself. You can't control how someone treats you, but you can control how long you let it define you. You can't control what someone says, but you can control whether you internalize it or release it. You can't control the pace of life, but you can control the posture of your heart while you wait. Training your mind doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending not to care. It means refusing to let external chaos rewrite your internal truth. It's choosing stability over reaction, presence over panic, and faith over fear. Every time you let someone's behavior disturb your peace, you hand them power over your state of mind. The goal is not to build walls, but to build wisdom, to stay open-hearted but not easily shaken. People will project, misunderstand, and misjudge. That's inevitable. But when your identity is rooted in truth, their noise no longer becomes your narrative. You stop living in reaction to others and start living in alignment with yourself. Grounding your mind means coming back to center, to what's real, what's eternal, what's unchanging. It's remembering that peace doesn't depend on circumstances, but on perspective. When you know what's true, you stop chasing temporary validation. You realize that not every opinion deserves an explanation, not every battle deserves your energy, and not every storm deserves your fear. Training your mind is daily work. It's pausing before reacting, breathing before speaking, reflecting before assuming. It's telling yourself, this situation can touch me, but it cannot control me. When your mind is anchored in truth, the waves can rise, but you won't drown. Because grounded minds don't get lost in other people's storms. They become the calm that steadies everything around them. Peace is not found in avoiding life. It's found in mastering how you move through it. The world will always test your balance, provoke your emotions, and challenge your growth. But your power is not in controlling what comes, it's in controlling what stays. You are not here to live in reaction, you are here to live in revelation. Every pause, every deep breath, every moment you choose stillness over chaos is proof that you're not who you used to be. You've learned to lead your emotions instead of follow them, to respond with wisdom instead of impulse, and to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. The goal is not to never feel, it's to never lose yourself in what you feel. Life will shake you, but it doesn't have to break you. Strength is not in the noise, it's in the calm after it. So train your mind, discipline your heart, and ground your spirit. Because when you stop reacting and start responding, you step into divine authority, the kind that can walk through fire and still remain at peace. And that's not just emotional maturity, that's spiritual mastery.